The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. We're always around the corner from everywhere. Good morning, I'm Jason Longshore, and I'm here with your Tuesday edition of the Morning Espresso, brought to you as always by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. What a night, what a weekend, what a window. The international break, it usually is a break. Sometimes will give us some order, some clarity, clean paths to the World Cup or qualifying for other competitions. This time around, we got late winners, we had meltdowns, breakthroughs, history, heartbreak. Sometimes all of that was in the same 90 minutes. Today, we're diving into Norway qualifying for the World Cup for the first time since 1998, Ireland's fairytale finish in Budapest, Portugal, England, France, keeping the heavyweights heavy, Germany, Denmark, Belgium, others kind of teetering into decision day a little bit. Curacao, Suriname, Haiti, and Concacaf chaos. U.S. men's national team momentum, yes, under Mauricio Pochettino. Probably some tweets being deleted. Mexico's growing disconnect at home. The NWSL playoffs, Trinity Rodman's future, major soccer business moves. We got stories in the refill from Knoxville to Argentina. Let's start where everything shook the loudest, World Cup qualifying in Europe. We'll start with Norway. We have to give them their props. Headed to a World Cup for the first time since France 1998. They did it with their biggest statement in a few generations. Erling Haaland scored twice in 2 minutes at the San Siro, goals number 15 and 16 of the group stage for him, tying Robert Lewandowski's single-cycle European qualifying record. Norway beat Italy 4-1, a result that stung for reasons way beyond that scoreline. Italy actually had the lead through Francesco Pio Esposito, and then they disintegrated. The press conference from Gennaro Gattuso afterwards, who was complaining quite a bit in the build-up to this about the format of World Cup qualifying and saying that, well, back in my day, that the second-place teams qualified automatically as well. Well, now you have more teams from Europe getting in. You have teams in your group that should not be an issue. Norway hadn't qualified since 1998. This should not have been something that was scary, but yes. And then Gattuso went off on his team, and he should have. He said, I would have preferred a football lesson from start to finish rather than falling apart mentally. He talked about how they fell apart after conceding a shot on goal in the second half. And that's shocking for an Italian team that historically has been known for the opposite. They had only lost a competitive home match by 3 or more goals once before against Sweden in 1983. They hadn't conceded 4 at home since 1955. I mean, this is historic for Italy, and now they've got to try to rebuild momentum going into the UEFA playoff. Norway, they win the group. Confidence is flying. They were singing about going to eat tacos next summer. They are going to the World Cup, and they have possibly the world's best striker in full flight right now. And as we also learned after the match, and we'll talk about tonight on Soccer Over There, don't touch Erling Haaland during a match, especially in certain areas. Just don't do it. When he's just quiet and doing his thing, don't poke the bear. Italy poked the bear, or the Viking in this case. Let's go on to Ireland. This was wild. Down 2-1 in Budapest. Ireland had to win to get to the playoff. Troy Parrott had one of the great individual nights in Irish qualifying history. That's not even fair. He had one of the best weeks in Irish qualifying history. I think it's the best week. He scored both goals in the win over Portugal last week and now has a penalty early to level the match, then a late equalizer to give Ireland hope because they had to win, and then the 96th minute winner. If Hungary hadn't made stoppage time subs, this probably wouldn't have happened. The whistle probably would have been blown when it went to Kelleher at midfield. They did make those subs. Kelleher got to launch it long. It's flicked on, and Troy Parrott, stretching with every fiber of his legs somehow gets a toe to it to poke it past the goalkeeper. Just unbelievable. They win 3-2, shocking Hungary, who was headed to the playoff. Parrott spoke to the Irish broadcasters after the match, and he said, "This is the first time I've cried in years. It's a fairy tale." He became the first player in Ireland's history to score a hat trick away from home, the fourth Irish international ever to score 2 or more in back-to-back matches, joining Jimmy Dunn from 1936, Robbie Keane in 2013, and Callum Robinson in 2021. Ireland hasn't been back to the World Cup since 2002. Now they get to go to the playoff. They're 2 games away. Let's get caught up on some other UEFA qualifying news from yesterday. Portugal, they did lose to Ireland earlier in the week. They did have Cristiano Ronaldo suspended. They didn't linger on any of this. They crushed Armenia 9-1 in Porto. Clinched first place in Group F. Bruno Fernandes, he had a hat trick, including 2 penalties. João Neves, he completed his first international hat trick. Portugal is headed to 2026 with Cristiano Ronaldo poised for a record 6th World Cup at the age of 41. Lionel Messi could join him with a 6th World Cup as well. Roberto Martinez, the manager for Portugal, he said, "Today we saw our team back to its best, committed, supportive, and executing." Will Cristiano Ronaldo be a starter next summer at the World Cup? This was a big conversation in 2022. It shouldn't still be a conversation in 2026, I don't think, but it's going to be, and Roberto Martinez is going to have to juggle this one. Will Cristiano Ronaldo accept not being a starter if that's what's best for the team? I don't know if he will. This is a really complicated situation. I think he hurt Portugal in 2022 as a starter. I didn't think they were as good with him starting. Can he still be a presence? Absolutely. If he's not elbowing people off the ball. Can he be a contributor? Yes. Is his ego going to allow him not to start? We're just going to have to wait and see. It's going to be a very interesting storyline for Portugal, who could be a contender. Absolutely could be. England, they finished qualifying 8-0-0. They gave up 0 goals in Group K. Harry Kane, he's got 78 goals and 112 caps. He scored both against Albania in a 2-0 win. Both teams were already through. England as the group winners, Albania to the playoff. Kane has 25 goals in 18 appearances across all competitions for Bayern and for England this season. France, they rotated heavily in Baku. They got goals from Jean-Philippe Mateta, Magnus Akaluche, and a fortunate own goal. They beat Azerbaijan 3-1. No Kylian Mbappe, who was sent back to Madrid with an ankle issue. Didier Deschamps, he was encouraged by Mateta and Hugo Ekitike, calling them another 2 pieces for next summer. There have been some rumors in the French media about issues with Mbappe and the squad. Kylian Mbappe's not going anywhere. We're not talking about Cristiano Ronaldo at 41. We're talking about Kylian Mbappe, who is right there with Erling Haaland as one of the best players in the world right now. He's not going anywhere, but France is going to have to manage this a little bit. Didier Deschamps definitely going to have to manage this. There's also reports out of France that it's already decided that Zinedine Zidane is going to take over for Deschamps after the World Cup. Deschamps has said he is stepping down afterwards. Zidane has basically been a coach in waiting for a while, and reports are saying that that is a little more formal now. Ukraine, they were playing Iceland yesterday in Poland, where Ukraine is hosting its home matches. They had to win. Iceland shipped in buses to park them in front of the goal. I really do not enjoy watching Iceland play at all. I know the underdog story. It was really nice one time. They have no ambition. They're not adventurous. They're very boring. I mean, so often you'd look up and it'd be 10 Icelandic players within 20 yards of their own goal. Just really annoying and frustrating to watch. I was very happy to see Ukraine get this win. Alexander Zubkov in the 83rd minute gave them the lead, and Oleksiy Hutsuliak with a goal in stoppage time. 2-0 win over Iceland. They go into second place. They go into the playoff. Upcoming games in UEFA. Germany-Slovakia is the most pressure-packed match of today in UEFA. Germany's been knocked out of the group stage in the last 2 World Cups, which has been very disappointing for them. If they don't get a result here, then they're going into the playoff, which they want no part of. Julian Nagelsmann says, we're confident we will play well and get 3 points. Nerves are real. Slovakia has beaten them once. That was in Slovakia. Can they do it in Germany? If they do, they'll qualify automatically. Otherwise, they're going to the playoff. Tomorrow, Denmark, they are at Scotland. They've got some illness concerns. Joachim Andersen and Rasmus Nielsen Christiansen have returned to training today. Rasmus Haaland is expected to travel and play, although he did not train with the squad today. A stomach bug going through the team, as we're seeing in the Danish press. Denmark, all they need is a draw. Scotland needs a win to qualify automatically. Hampton will be electric for this one. Both teams are going to survive at least. The team that doesn't win the group automatically will go into the playoff. Belgium, they had a disappointing 1-1 draw against Kazakhstan over the weekend, even after a late red card gave them a man advantage. Jeremy Doku, he didn't sugarcoat it afterwards. He said, if we need De Bruyne, Lukaku, or Courtois to win these matches, we have no business being at the World Cup. Belgium will likely qualify. They shouldn't have any real concern here, but alarm bells maybe going off in the distance a little bit. All right, let's bring it back to this side. Let's start in Africa, as you had a playoff final yesterday. DR Congo, they knocked out Nigeria, winning a penalty shootout after a 1-1 draw. They knocked off Cameroon in the semifinal to get here, so 2 of the most storied African teams at World Cups are not going to be there thanks to DR Congo, who will go into the Interconfederation playoff. Also, a little bit of controversy in this one. Nigeria's manager, Eric Shelley, he accused Congolese players of voodoo during the kicks. He did. He said this. There were some disputes between the benches during the shootout. Regardless of how they got there, DR Congo gets to the playoffs. They're going for their second ever chance to return to the World Cup. The first was in 1974 as Zaire. In Concacaf, everything is on the line on Tuesday night. Curacao, they could become the smallest nation ever to qualify for a World Cup, population of around 150,000. Suriname, they sit in pole position in Group A. They've got the goal difference cushion over Panama. Haiti, they have to play their home games in Curacao due to gang warfare in Port-au-Prince. They may complete one of the region's most improbable qualifications. Costa Rica, Honduras, Panama, Jamaica, all still alive for the top spot and for the 2 Interconfederation playoff spots. All 6 games Tuesday night will kick off simultaneously at 8 p.m. You can watch them all on Paramount+. Pure chaos in CONCACAF on Tuesday. All right, let's get to some more CONCACAF. U.S. men's national team. It's looking pretty good under Mauricio Pochettino, isn't it? Looking like maybe those calls for a little bit of patience were correct. Huh. Just saying. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe don't go as quickly as possible to the hashtag manager out. Don't do that stuff, guys. And I wonder if all the people who were saying that, well, he doesn't know his best 11 right now. He doesn't know what he's doing. I wonder if tweets are getting deleted. I'm just saying. It's the reactions were ridiculous. There were topics to talk about during the U.S. men's national team not playing well. Absolutely. There were valid topics, and we talked about them. I remember over the summer talking about it specifically when team was losing. They seemed to get in their heads a little bit and then gave up more goals, and that looked bad. They didn't tighten things up. That was a struggle before the Gold Cup. Then they had a pretty good Gold Cup. They weren't the best team there. They weren't nearly at full strength. They ended up not winning the Gold Cup, but they had a good tournament. They are on an unbeaten run right now against top 40 opponents. They've beaten Japan. They've drawn with Ecuador. They've beaten Australia. They've beaten Paraguay. All teams that are going to the World Cup, by the way. Japan, number 17 in the world. Ecuador, 23. Australia, 25. Paraguay, 39. They're playing well in these games, too. It's not purely results, although when you get to the World Cup, all that's going to matter is the results. I think maybe people will stop talking about Mauricio Pochettino now. I think there's all these weird hangups and things. Gio Reyna gets back into the squad because of injuries. And look, he takes advantage. He opens the scoring. He played well. He's got to play more at club, as Pochettino said afterwards. There's just no way around that. He has to, and that's going to be key for him. He gets this opportunity, and now he keeps the door open. That's what you want from players. That's a good thing. The scrap at the end of the game, that's also what you want from players. I loved it. It's funny how initially there were a lot of people trying to say that was a bad thing and a bad decision. No. You needed these kind of moments. You needed this. You needed this to bring the team together. You needed people to stand up and fight. Alex Freeman is not somebody I would want to be fighting with if I was a Paraguayan player, but they tried to, and Freeman wasn't having it, and players had his back. It looked good. Like, yeah, you got to be careful in these situations, of course. We know this, but this was in all a good night for the U.S. men's national team. Gustavo Alfaro, the manager for Paraguay, he offered one of the more important quotes about the U.S. in a long time. He said, "You cannot sustain the United States' intensity for 90 minutes unless you match it. And if you don't, you collapse." That is a huge compliment to Mauricio Pochettino and what he has instilled in the group. That's the biggest compliment that I've heard offered to Mauricio Pochettino for what he has done from anyone, including anyone in the United States. That says a lot. I hope that changes. You don't score brownie points by continually being negative. It doesn't make you look any smarter. This team is building. They are still, yes, we can talk about how many games they get. Well, everybody's dealing with this. Everybody's dealing with questions about their lineup. England is, and they went 8-0 in qualifying and didn't give up a goal. And they don't know what their starting lineup's going to be next summer. They don't know where Jude Bellingham's going to play. He's getting mad when he gets substituted out of games that don't matter. So let's all take a step back. Please, just don't give in to the shenanigans in terms of trying to get attention and having outlandish takes. Please, don't do that. Pay attention to what's really happening. Pay attention to what people like Gustavo Alfaro are saying when they play up against this team. This is a good team. I will repeat what I've said. I mean, I feel like since Copa America and maybe since the last World Cup, this is a top 20 team in the world. I think overall pool of players, it's gotten deeper and wider. Perhaps compared to previous generations, you don't have as many top-end talents. Christian Pulisic, world class. You have a few other players who are edging into that. I think Serginho Dest could end up being one of the most important players in this team because of what he brings. He's unpredictable. He just makes things happen. Gio Reyna could be that as well if he can play at the club level and be sharp coming into the tournament. But you're a top 20 team in talent. Your goal is to get to the round of 16. If you get past that, that is an amazing accomplishment. If you get to the round of 16, that is job well done. You have to get out of the group, especially in this format. And I think you have to win a round of 32. Now, look, that could change depending on how things fall. Hopefully it gets crazy because of bad luck. Hopefully you win the group and somebody finishes third in a group and you get a bad draw. And then you have a toss-up game. Hopefully it's not because you had a bad group. You squeak in and then you have to play somebody who's dominant in the round of 32. Hopefully that's not the case. You got to get out of the group. You need to win a knockout game because you've only done that one time. You get to the round of 16, this has been a job well done. That is where this team is right now. Can they make a run and get deeper? Yeah, they can. They absolutely can. That's what the wonders of tournament football are. You never know how everything is going to fall. I hope it falls well for this team, but I like how they're building. I really like the job that Mauricio Pochettino is doing with this team, and I really liked what I saw in their win over Paraguay. It's not the same for Mexico right now. They had a friendly against Uruguay in Torreon over the weekend. Scoreless draw. It didn't look good. It was just a bad game. The fans turned on the team. They booed goalkeeper Raul Rangel. They wanted their Santos Laguna goalkeeper in goal instead of Rangel. They chanted "out with Aguirre" in Spanish, obviously. They also dropped some other chants in. They let frustration pour, and that's where that other chant came in. This team hasn't won in their last 5. Mexico, Raul Jimenez, he couldn't hide his frustration with the reaction from the fans. He talked about how he was upset by the booing and the chanting, and he said maybe that's why they always take us to the United States. That didn't go over very well. It's a mess right now in Mexico. They are automatically qualified as a host, but they are nowhere near settled, and it's funny how things flip, isn't it? Because everybody was talking the other way about the United States, and now it's going well. And in Mexico, they won the Gold Cup, and now it's going badly. Yeah, we will see how it looks for Mexico in their friendly on Tuesday. More to catch up on. NWSL playoffs, another jaw dropper from Jaden Shaw, this time with her right foot, not with the mic. She dropped a stoppage time winner for Gotham FC to beat Orlando Pride 1-0 on the road. Shaw was brought in from North Carolina Courage in a $1.25 million deal in September. Scored the free kick. It was just put into a perfect place. It got past the goalkeeper, Anna Morehouse. Gotham's the number 8 seed. They will go into the NWSL Championship to play the Washington Spirit. Back in the final for the 3rd time in the last 5 years. A 2-0 win over Portland on Saturday. Goals from Gift Monday and Croy Bethune. Rose Kawasi, who I thought was the best player on the field, she added her 7th assist of the season. 6 of those assists are to Gift Monday. Off the field, the Trinity Rodman sweepstakes is underway. She's a free agent in the offseason. Her agents have spoken directly with the NWSL commissioner, Jessica Berman. Women's Super League clubs in England have reportedly already made contact. The league wants her to stay, but the reality of the current salary cap in the NWSL makes that very complicated. Maybe it's time to revisit the rules. We will see. And this is all interesting as Atlanta gets ready to come in 2028, because we know what happened in MLS when Atlanta came in. They were not shy about spending. They went after some of the best players. What happens in the NWSL? And before we get to 2028, do you see the wallets grow a little bit? Do you see the salary cap grow a little bit? I'm intrigued where things are, and I think Trinity Rodman's situation is going to be one of the tipping points for the NWSL. Soccer business, some of the big movers going right now. Lorient in France, they are moving fully into the Black Knight Football Club multi-club model under Bill Foley, joining Bournemouth, Moreirense, and Auckland FC. Castrol, they signed a multi-year U.S. partnership with the Mexican Federation, expanding their reach ahead of 2026. The French Football Federation, they extended their sponsorship deal with Orange through 2030, 50-50 investment split between men's and women's football, a landmark agreement, and it's aimed at doubling the number of female players in France by the end of the decade. More from around the world in the refill. One Knox SC, they completed the USL League One double. They won the regular season title. They beat Spokane Velocity 2-0 in front of a record 7,500 fans in Knoxville, Tennessee, to win the USL League One championship. Stay in Tennessee. Lipscomb, they pulled off an NCAA tournament upset on the women's side. They beat Mississippi State 1-0 thanks to Bella Carpasa's composed finish, the 3rd unseeded team to win on the road this weekend in the NCAA tournament. An English non-league match between AFC Rushden Diamonds and Coventry Sphinx was abandoned due to sexist abuse of the female referee. Reprehensible. Glad it was abandoned. Hopefully they can figure out who did it, who said it, and those people are not allowed back in the match ever again. Ban them forever. I'm fine with it. Don't let them buy tickets. And don't give me the excuse, oh, they'll find a way. Well, make them find a way. Make them find a way. Ridiculousness. Arsenal. Gabriel, he suffered a thigh injury during Brazil's friendly over Senegal and will miss the match against Tunisia and possibly miss time with Arsenal coming up. The Premier League, they're talking about moving on from the profit and sustainability rules. They're exploring possibly some kind of a spending cap. Salary caps in England. People are going to lose their minds. Well, 3 top player agencies are preparing to sue the Premier League if a hard spending cap is implemented. It's pretty typical. We saw these sorts of things in U.S. sports when salary caps were brought in, but they were. In Argentina, the promotion playoff between Deportivo Madryn and Deportivo Morón descended into absolute chaos even before the final whistle. Some of the worst refereeing that I've ever seen. One tackle should have been a red. It was a yellow. One tackle should have at least been a yellow, possibly a red, and it was nothing. It was just a foul. After the match, because of the frustrations from Deportivo Morón players, you had flying punches. The police had to intervene. Pepper spray went towards the Morón players. I think 15 police officers and possible army people had to escort the referees off the field. Multiple players injured. It looked really bad. There's a lot of controversy around this game, and it's not the first time there's been a lot of controversy around Deportivo Madryn. Really weird story out of Argentina. Keep an eye on this one as they are trying to get promoted to the top flight for the first time ever, and it's a controversial route they're getting there. Just the bits I saw of this match, some of the referee decisions were completely shocking. That'll do it for your Morning Espresso for Tuesday. As always, thank you for starting your day with the SDH Network. 2 reminders before you go. You can always get all of your SDH podcasts available on all platforms. Make sure you are subscribed to Soccer Down Here. There's a new edition of The Roots, a new edition of Red Clay, local, national, international updates there. Those were issued over the weekend. SDH AM as well, every day starting at 9:05. Catch all of that wherever you get your SDH podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. Tonight, 8 o'clock, we'll be live from the Brewhouse Cafe for Soccer Over There, presented by Around the Corner Lager, powered by No Faux Brewing. Full recaps of today's World Cup qualifiers in Europe, a preview of tomorrow's decisive matches in Asia, Concacaf, and in Europe, and our latest installment of Picks of the Week. Make sure you're following Soccer Down Here across all your social channels for updates as well. We'll be talking to you tonight on Soccer Over There, and I'll have a new edition of Morning Espresso tomorrow. The game never stops, and neither do we. Enjoy your soccer, and we'll be talking soon.